The 50s were far less complicated than they are now. Back in the 50s you could smoke wherever you wanted, you could smack an unruly kid if you felt like it, and seatbelts weren't even invented yet. Now in 1955 Husqvarna created a 175cc motorcycle, and they called it the Silver Arrow, or Vitpilen as it was known. That motorcycle became a 200cc later in life, and it was called the Golden Arrow. And then Husqvarna went off and they started making sewing machines and garden equipment and snowblowers, and they forgot all about motorcycling. Now in 2013 KTM bought the Husqvarna brand, and they could add 4 new arrows to their illustrious quiver. The Vitpilen, the Vitpilen, both of them available in a 401 and a 701. Today I'm looking at the Vitpilen 401. Because they fell under the KTM brand, Husqvarna didn't have to take care of the oily bits. That was taken care of by the KTM 390 Duke and the 690 Duke. Under all this glorious bodywork sits the KTM 390 Duke. This particular model is the 401 Vitpilen, and then you also get the 701 Vitpilen, which has got the 690 Duke engine. You also get the Vitpilen 401 and the Vitpilen 701. Now the differences between these bikes is that the Vitpilen has got raised handlebars. This bike has got clip-on handlebars, and this is purely for street use. The riding position on this bike is very sporty because the handlebars, the tank and the seat are basically on the same horizontal level, which means it tucks you into a sport bike position, and you cannot help but ride this motorcycle hard because you are already in that sport position. To that end, because it's a KTM, everything works beautifully. It runs on 17-inch front and rear wheels. They are spoked on the Vitpilen, and those spokes are fairly chunky, and the yellow accent on the rim makes for an attractive motorcycle. Up front, it's got 43mm WP shocks mounted upside down, which meant that if you push this bike into a corner, because it's so lightweight, it just goes into a corner so nicely. The other thing is it has the 375cc engine, and it is a punchy little motor. Once you get into a corner and you open the throttle gently, the bike just pulls, and it is just a delight to ride around corners in this bike. Other design elements is this little round speedometer, and there was a bit of a hit and miss affair going on with that. Some people liked it, some people don't. I particularly, I'm not too fond of it. There's a lot of information on the dial. Everything is there. I mean, there's fuel range and everything is there, but it's such a small little LCD that it sometimes is hard to read. The seat, as I said, is at the same level as the tank and the handlebars, which means that you are forward. It's a comfortable seat. You won't go long distances on this. And the simple reason is not the seat, whether it's hard enough or soft enough. It's just your riding position prohibits you from riding 1000 k's in a day. You will not do this on this bike. The back of the bike has got this floating tailpiece, and the rest of the legal stuff is down there with your indicators and your number plates. The back piece is very unsightly, but I guess this is where the Vitpilen comes into its own. You can modify this bike, and I'm sure with this cafe racy styling that there's quite a lot of modifications that you can do to this Vitpilen to make it your own. Mechanically, these bikes are identical to the KTM 390 Duke and also the KTM RC 390. But if I am in this market and I have to buy one of these bikes with my money, I would go for the Husqvarna because it's a quirky motorcycle. It's not the norm. Yes, the KTM is the safe option, but for me this bike turns heads, and that is what I like about this bike. But I would probably opt for the Vitpilen, which with its raised handlebars might just put me into a more comfortable position. Other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed this bike.